Thank you for joining me in this episode of Super Memory. I'm Duncan, your memory coach. In this episode, I'll be sharing with us the topic, the philosophies of memory. The philosophies of memory. In our last episode, we talked about the forms of memory, the different forms our memories function. And the previous one, which was our first one, we talked about what memory is and what memory is not, and then the importance of memory. In this very class, I'll be taking us the philosophies of memory. In general terms, what is philosophy? Philosophy simply means one's personal belief, something that you accept, it's something that you have accepted that is true and you imbibe it. Whatever belief that you accept that is true, whatever fact that you accept that is true and you begin to imbibe it, that is your philosophy. And there are three basic philosophies that you should imbibe for your memory to function the way it should. And these three are what we want to quickly look at in this class. The first philosophy is the one I consider as good or bad versus trained or untrained memory. Now, what this philosophy says is that most people, they always say, when they forget things, they say, oh, I have bad memory. It's not true. No human being has bad memory. Every human being has good memory. We all have good memory. But the challenge we have is that for the fact that you have good memory is not enough. You need to get it trained. So what people call bad memory is actually good memory that is not trained. How do we know that every human being has good memory? The reason, one of the proof that we have good memory is that when we go out, we know our way back home. We will take our children to school, take someone else somewhere that we need to go and pick. We still remember to go and pick it. We will keep our phones or our keys anywhere. We still remember get the key. We had a very terrible experience in the past, maybe 5 years ago. We can still recall it, especially if it's a bad experience. All those facts are proof that we all have good memory. But it's not enough for you to have good memory. You need to get your good memory trained. It is the training of the good memory that makes your memory to function the way it ought to function, makes it function optimally. But when your good memory is untrained, you'll be tempted to think that you have bad memory. So the first philosophy you need to start imbibing from today if you want your memory to work for you optimally is that believe very strongly in your heart that your memory is good, but it's not enough for you to have good memory, you need to get it trained. So there are no bad memories, there are only untrained good memory. Alright? Second philosophy that I want to imbibe is the philosophy of have versus use. What the philosophy says that memory is not just something that you have, it's something that you should use. Memory is just is an ability. Just when we define what a memory is the mental ability for storing and recalling information in our mind, in our brain. It's a mental ability. And because it's a mental ability, so it's an ability rather, it is something you must use. Whatever you don't use, you lose. Say for instance, you have singing ability. If you are not singing, you will lose your voice. You have a writing ability. If you are not the type of person that keep writing, you will lose your writing ability. What you have a driving ability, if you are not always driving, whatever ability that you have, when you don't use it, it either diminishes or you lose it. So the reason most people's memory are not functioning is because they don't use it. We just assume that, oh, whatever information that comes to us, our memory will help us store it. No, it's something you must deliberately use. One of the laws of growth that we have read is that the first law of growth is the law of intentionality, and that law applies to this use. The use of your memory is something you don't just have, you don't just say you have. Yes, everyone has memory, but it's not enough for you to have memory. It is something you must use. So, for instance, someone is giving you any information, you must pause and engage your memory to save that information. That's what we are saying. Someone is telling you, narrating a story to you, and something you want to recall, you want to remember later, you must pause and then use your memory to store the information. Use it. And you use the information. Your memory is not just something, but you are being taught something in class. You must pause and then visualize what you are being taught, and then begin to what is the summary of what I've learned. What have I learned so far? That process of pausing and trying to recap whatever that you have learned, so that you can store it properly in your brain. That is what we call use. But some people, they will just assume that because they've had it, that they have gotten it. No, that you have had it does not mean the information, you've gotten the information until you use it. That is when you now say you have got it, but whatever you don't get, you forget. Alright? The last philosophy you will need to imbibe for our memories to work very perfectly is the philosophy, which is the third one, is the philosophy of biology versus logic. We are logical beings. We can engage our memory in a systematic manner to get valid conclusion about whatever we are told. But to just exercise your logic is not enough. Your memory will fail you when you have always just tried to exercise your reasoning. Just engaging your reasoning. It's not enough. You must apply your human nature. You are a biological being. What that means is that you have 5 senses. Whatever you are learning, try to marry whatever you are learning to tie with any of your senses. Use your senses, your human senses, to tie whatever information that you have to something that relates to them. Let's say, for instance, you are trying to learn how a chair looks like. Now you have a visual ability to see. Try to visualize your chair or a chair somewhere that looks like this chair. So when you want to remember it, because you're using your visual sense, it will be easy for you to. It might be mental visual sense, or it might be physical visual sense. Use to tie information. You have feeling. Use your feeling to tie information. Oh, this feeling I have now, I had it some time ago. Or this feeling I'm having as I'm discussing with you, I had this feeling one time ago. Tie information to your feeling. Tie it to your taste. Oh, I've tasted this kind of food before. Tie it to your taste. Tie it to what you have had before. Tie it to what you have had. Tie it to what you can perceive. Now, one practical example to show how memory and biology works is with children. Remember that when children are being taught at that elementary level of learning, whenever they are teaching them A, they will say A, B, C. They will say A for apple, B for ball, C for cat. Why? Because educational system have come to realize that children will learn whatever, will be able to save whatever they need to store in their brain when they are able to tie it to something that their eyes can see or they have seen, they can touch. They can touch apple, they can eat apple. So it's easy for the child to recall A because it's tied it to apple. It's also easy for him to tie B to his mind to make sure that B sticks in his mind because he's being taught to tie it to ball. The same thing applies to cat. The same thing applies to eye for ice cream. It's something that they can lick. It's something that they can buy and lick ice cream. So when you train yourself in such a way that you use your memory biologically, not just logically, whatever you save or whatever you store with your memory, using this your human makeup as a biological being, not just as a logical being, your memory will enable you to save it very well. That is why, for instance, now you want to save a particular number. Let's say the number is 2560. At least you are a biological being. You remember 25th is Christmas Day because of the rice, the party because you can tie it to your feeling, you can tie it to what you can relate with as a human being. And then you also know that as a Nigerian, for instance, if you are Nigerian, you know that 1960 was our independent day. So the last two digits you can just tie it to, oh, Christmas Day when we eat rice, we drink, we do a whole lot of partying, and then your independent day as a Nigerian, oh, a day where we celebrate, people go and march. Those days we go and do some march past, and the military men do march past. Remember, you are going to tie it to something you can relate to as a human being, as a biological being. It makes it easy for your memory to save that information. So I want to encourage you today that from today, do not think again that you have a bad memory. You have a good but an untrained memory that needs to be trained, or a good memory that needs to be trained. Your memory is not just something that you have, it is something that you use if you want it to work for you. You must always pause and engage your memory to record, to recap whatever you have learned. And then you must also learn to tie whatever information to your mind by using something you can relate with as a human being to tie it. Either a person, someone just mention his name to you, like my name is Moses. Try to tie his name to someone, or there's a word that you are just saying for the first time. Try to tie it to something you can relate with your five senses. So these five senses that we have, they are very useful for the use of our memory, for the engagement of our memory as biological beings. Thank you for watching this video. If this video has really resonated with you, this lesson, this knowledge has really resonated with you, I'd like to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then to see that you always get our videos. Thank you so much for watching. See you in our next episode.